Range script loaded, you can now press escape, select choose slot, and pick your aircraft. The F-15E, Strike Eagle, employs the same gun as the F-15C, a General Electric M61-A1, 6-barrel Gatling gun of 20mm, which is effective against enemy aircraft and soft ground targets. The gun is mounted in the aircraft's starboard wing root, aft of the engine inlet. The linear linkless ammunition storage container is mounted in a vertical orientation, near the centerline of the aircraft, and holds 510 rounds. On DCS, the gun can use two types of ammo, high explosive armor piercing, or high explosive incendiary, selectable during rearming or on the mission editor. For today's training, we are using AP rounds. Press space bar to continue. For this training mission, we will use a weapons range at Mud Lake, which employs assets created by the 476th Virtual Fighter Group, plus a weapons range script developed by the user Sirabob, which will allow you to gauge your strafing accuracy. To succeed, you will have to strafe 3 gun targets available on the southern side of the range. Perform at least 3 passes over the strafing pits, 1 for each target. You can access the attack statistics calling up the F10 option of the communications menu. You can make as many passes as you want, while you still have ammunition left. Perform the passes on an east to west general direction, so that the mission logic can keep track of them. Press space bar to begin the training. First thing we will do is contact Air Traffic Control, ATC, to request permission to taxi. Preset number 2 of each radio is set to the tower frequencies. Flick your mic switch forward or aft to use the radio 1 or 2. The DCS communications menu should appear. Its top line indicates which radio we are using, UHF 1 or 2. Select F5, ATC. F1. Tonopah test range. F3, request startup.
In field 1-1, request
We had to
startup.
request startup, because unfortunately ATC does not detect that our aircraft was already with engines running.
Cleared for startup.
So, now continue with F1, request taxi to runway.
In field 1-1,
After a few seconds,
request taxi to
ATC should
runway.
answer and clear us to a takeoff runway. Take note of the runway number. If there is other traffic on the taxiways, ATC might delay the answer until the taxiways are clear. Press spacebar once the controller gives you clearance. The runway that ATC cleared for us is runway 14. We are very near its entrance, it is to our right. We are now ready to taxi. Release the holding brake. Increase throttle slightly, and once the aircraft advances, turn right to taxi towards runway 14. Stop just short of the designated runway. Good, here you can perform the before takeoff check. Once you have finished it, contact ATC to request permission to enter the runway. Flick your mic switch forward or aft to use the radio 1 or 2 to call ATC. The DCS communications menu should appear. Select F1, request takeoff. After a few seconds, ATC should answer and give us clearance. Press spacebar once ATC has granted permission to enter the runway.
You are cleared for takeoff when ready. Climb 300 at QFE 24.49.
Increase throttle a bit, and enter the runway. Align with the center line and stop the aircraft by applying and holding the toe brakes. Do not release the wheel brakes or the aircraft will creep forward.
Enfield 1-1, unable to clear for takeoff. Enfield 1-1, you are
While keeping the rear brakes fully applied, advance engines to 82% RPM, and quickly check instruments. If everything is normal, release brakes and advance throttles to full military power. Do not go into the afterburner range. Use rudder pedals to keep the aircraft on the runway's center line. At rotation speed, 135 knots, smoothly pull the stick half back to establish a 10 degrees pitch attitude. Airborne. Retract gear and flaps when airborne. Apply nose-down trim to compensate for the takeoff trim nose-up attitude. Keep climbing at a speed of 350 to 400 knots until you reach a cruise altitude of 10,000 feet. Make sure to navigate towards waypoint 1, making use of the navigation symbology displayed on the HUD. Once you reach waypoint 1, turn left to proceed to waypoint 2. You have reached 10,000 feet. Level out the aircraft. Once you reach waypoint 2, turn left again to proceed to waypoint 3. You are cruising too fast. Keep a speed of 350 to 400 knots. Once you reach waypoint 3, turn left. The weapons range is located at waypoint 4. You are cruising too slowly. Maintain a speed of 350 to 400 knots. 1. Master Mode, Air to Ground. Pressing the AG Master Mode button enables the PAC's Programmable Armament Control Set, air-to-ground weapon circuitry and changes the HUD to display information specific for air-to-ground deliveries. 2. Unselect weapon stations using PACs. There is no direct way of selecting the gun for air-to-ground use. What you need to do is unselect any other air-to-ground weapon that you may have on the wing, CFT, and ventral stations. This is done on the PAC screens. Let's select it on the right MPD, which currently is displaying the HSI. First, return to the menu 1 by pressing the M button. The PAC's menu can be accessed from menu 1 on any MPD or MPCD by pressing push button 2, Armament. Next, press the AG button to employ PACs for air-to-ground weaponry. Good, the MPD is now showing the PAC's AG display. The top 5 positions corresponds to the 5 weapon stations of the aircraft. If any of these 5 positions is surrounded by a box, it means it is selected. Make sure to unselect them by pressing its adjacent top row button until none is boxed. 3. Set the gun's rate of fire. On the same display page, you can toggle the gun's firing rate between low, 4,000 rounds per minute, or high, 6,000 rounds per minute. The number below indicates the remaining rounds of the gun magazine. The suffix P denotes high explosive armor-piercing rounds, while an M denotes high explosive incendiary rounds. For air-to-ground strafing, select low. For air-to-air use you would select high. With the PACs configured, we can now enable the Master Arm switch. 4. Master Switch, set to Arm, to enable the selected weapon. Next, we will set up the HUD for gun use. 5. Take command of the HUD. You do this by employing the flight stick's castle switch, using the following sequence: castle switch press, castle switch forward. This takes command of the HUD. IN, CMD, should appear on the HUD left side. Good, now you should bring up the gun CDIP reticle by performing this HOTAS action. Auto acquisition switch aft short, less than 1 second. The gun reticle should now be visible on the HUD. It consists of a 50mm circle and a 2mm pipper, aim dot. On the right side of the HUD, gun signals that the gun is now selected. On the left side, 510 indicates the gun rounds remaining. There is no target range indication within the gun reticle, as that feature is still in development and not yet available on early access. In the same way, the backup manual gun sight is not yet available. Only the CDIP reticle can be used for now. Press spacebar to continue. You are cruising too fast. Keep a speed of 350 to 400 knots. The weapon's range is in front of us. The gun strafing pits are at the southern side of the range. Select one of the 3 available pits and align to make a pass over it. Wait until the message rolling in on gun targets appears, and then begin a shallow dive. keeping the targeting reticle aligned with one of the strafing pits. Reduce throttle to maintain a dive speed of 350 to 400 knots. Steepen the dive, place the dot of the reticle over the selected strafing pit, and fire by pressing the gun trigger. Strafing pass done. Turn back around, towards an easterly heading, and perform another pass. Start climbing back to at least 8,000 feet. Check the HUD to confirm that the gun still has ammunition left for the next phase.
Pull up, pull up, pull up, pull up.
Low altitude, low altitude.
Strafing pass done. Turn back around, towards an easterly heading, and perform another pass. Start climbing back to at least 8,000 feet. Check the HUD to confirm that the gun still has ammunition left for the next pass. Strafing pass done. Turn back around, towards an easterly heading, and perform another pass. Start climbing back to at least 8,000 feet. Check the HUD to confirm that the gun still has ammunition left for the next pass. Strafing pass done. Turn back around, towards an easterly heading, and perform another pass. Start climbing back to at least 8,000 feet. Check the HUD to confirm that the gun still has Strafing pass done. Turn back around, towards an easterly heading, and perform another pass. Start climbing back to at least 8,000 feet. Check the HUD to confirm that the gun still has ammunition left for the next pass. You have no more ammunition left. You should now navigate towards Waypoint 5 to return to Tonopah Air Base. Deactivate the armament with this short procedure. 1. Master switch, set to safe, to secure all remaining weapons. 2. Master mode, set to nav. To have the central computer display navigational steering data on both HUD and MPDs. Good, this completes the weapons disarm procedure. You can check your range results by calling up the communications menu. Select F10, Other, then select F1, Range. Finally, click F1, My Strafing Results. You have completed the main subject of this training mission. Press spacebar if you want to fly back and land at Tonopah, or press backspace to end the training now. Okay, you have chosen to proceed and practice a landing at Tonopah Air Base. Continue straight ahead until you reach Waypoint 5 of our flight plan. Once you reach Waypoint 5, turn right to head back, towards Tonopah Air Base. request landing clearance by flicking the mic switch forward or aft to use the radio 1 or 2 to contact Tonopah's ATC. On the communications menu, select F5 ATC, F1 Tonopah test range, F1 inbound.
Infield 1-1, inbound. Enfield 1-1, fly heading 161, Fort 1, QFE 24.
The tower will answer the heading and distance to its landing approach point, which we will ignore since we are already past that point, but it will also inform you that Tonopah's current QFE is 24.49 inches of mercury, and that we have been assigned runway 14. Press F12 to clear the communications menu. Press spacebar once you receive the ATC's answer. Once you get nearer the airbase, ATC will ask you to contact tower. At that point, flick the mic switch again, and then select F1, request landing. Begin a shallow descent towards the runway. Reduce throttle and extend the air brake to reduce speed to 250 knots, in order to extend gear and flaps. At 250 knots, lower the flaps and the landing gear. Retrim the aircraft to keep an AOA of 20 to 22 units. Retract air brake and increase throttle to compensate for the gear drag. Set the landing light switch to its landing position, full forward. Use trim to place the flight path marker over the first quarter of the runway, while using throttle to control its position. A throttle increase will raise the FPM, while a throttle reduction will lower it.
Enfield 1-1, cleared for visual, contact tower.
The waypoint set at the airbase location is actually on the midpoint of the runway, as
Infield
denoted by the
1-1,
small circle
request
on the
landing.
HUD. Don't focus on it, instead strive to place the FPM over the desired landing spot, somewhere on the nearest quarter of the runway.
Enfield 1-1, check landing gear. Wind 157 at 4 meters per second. Runway 14.
Low altitude, low altitude.
Begin to flare at 100 feet over the runway, pulling back on the control stick until the FPM is placed just below the horizon line on the pitch ladder. Reduce throttle to let the aircraft touch down. Touch down. Set throttle to idle, and open the air brake. Use rudder to keep directional control, and raise the nose to 12 degrees pitch, to achieve optimum aerodynamic braking. Leave the runway by turning to the left at the first available exit. This is Street B, proceed forward, towards the ramp. You can park at any spot of your choosing. Perform the following steps after leaving the runway. Retract the speed brake. Retract the flaps. Switch from landing to taxi light. Set the terrain following radar to off. Press and hold the takeoff trim button until its green light illuminates.
Yaw rate. Yaw rate.
This completes the after landing procedure. Press spacebar to continue. Press spacebar if you want to practice the shutdown of your aircraft, or press backspace if you prefer to end the mission now. Taxi towards one of the parking spots, marked green on the figure, and stop the aircraft there. After taxiing to your selected parking spot, the following steps should be performed to shut down the engine. Set holding brake to on. Turn all avionics systems off before engine shutdown to avoid false bit warnings. Radar altimeter set to off. Set the radar power knob to off. Turn the INS knob to off. Navigation with forward-looking infrared set to off. HUD turn off by rotating its knob counterclockwise. Oxygen system set to off. Set both throttles to off by pulling the levers all the way back, and then move into off by pressing right Alt plus end and right Shift plus end. Finally, you can now open the canopy. This completes the engine shutdown procedure. You have finished this training mission. Press spacebar to exit.